Hola my lovelies, ¿cómo estamos? How are you today? Today's video is going to be slightly different. One, because I've just come back after a long day outside the house. I've just had a shower and yes, I'm in my pajamas. So excuse me, but today is going to be that type of video. Un video de pijama. ¿Os parece bien? I hope you're okay with that. And second of all, because I'm not going to be teaching you any skill in particular, but all skills. Today I'm going to be talking about what interests you the most if you're learning a second language. Whether you're learning English or Spanish, how do you become fluent in that language? How can you become fluent in Spanish? Are you ready for it? ¿Listos? Venga, vamos! I've had the pleasure of teaching many students how to become fluent in Spanish and in English. And all of the ones that have been successful have followed pretty much the same steps. Step number one, the input stage. That stage that you're going to be receptive. You're going to be using mainly the receptive skills, which are reading and listening. Not exclusively, but mainly. Why is this? Because at that point you need to be a sponge, my friend. That's what you need to be. You need to be a very active learner. You can learn passively, like the kids do. You know, you put them in front of a TV, you turn on the TV in Spanish or in English, and they just learn it, just like that, by magic. But that, unfortunately, has got an expiry date. Our brain doesn't work like that when we are adults, unfortunately. So we need to adapt and become active learners. That means that if you hear a word that you don't know throughout this video, you might want to write it down, you might want to put it into practice, you might want to embed that word into your knowledge. It's not going to happen by magic. You need to be aware of that word. You need to say, hey, wait a minute, I didn't know that word before. Let me have a look at it. Let me write it down. Let me put it in a phrase. Maybe I can use it tomorrow at work. That's what I mean by being an active learner. And that's what you need to do at this stage, guys. You need to build up the basics. And by that, I mean vocab. I know, it's boring, but it's what it is. Es lo que hay. No hay otra. You can use vocab apps to build the language. That's what most people do. In my humble opinion, make sure that you're using the right app for this purpose. I wouldn't waste my time with apps that might not be teaching you necessarily practical vocabulary. Why do I want to know how to say I am not an apple? No soy una manzana. Very useful. I'm never going to use those type of phrases, so make sure that you're using an app that's relevant, that's useful vocabulary, that's practical for you, and most important, that has got the kind of jerga, vocabulario, slang, okay, and Spanish variety or English variety that you guys want to learn. For example, if you live in the US, you might want to learn Latin American Spanish because you're closer to Mexico, and that's the Spanish that you're going to be exposed to the most. Fair enough. Or maybe you do business with certain countries and you want to learn the Spanish from that specific country to make sure that when you're making a deal, you are not misunderstood. Am I making any sense? It's the same with American English or British English. The great dilemma. Am I going to learn to say lorry or truck? What do I do? Your choice. Are you going to learn to say carro, like in Latin America, or are you going to say coche? Both are correct, and it depends on what you want to learn. But ever since I started making videos, I have noticed a few people following me and saying, wait a minute, I thought this was the word for this. I thought this was the word for that, but you're saying it differently. And I explained to them, oh, it's because I speak Spanish from Spain. And they seem quite disappointed sometimes because they thought they were learning Spanish from Spain and maybe they have been learning Spanish from Mexico or Colombia or any of the different varieties. It's the same language, guys, of course, but it can change a lot. Do we understand each other? Absolutely. But slightly different vocab. Check the app that you want to use. You know, there's so many up there. You've got most popular ones, Duolingo, Rosetta Stone, Babel, or Babbel. Memories, I really like Memories. And, you know, there's so many of them. Even Quizlet, I use Quizlet a lot with my students. They can put up their words in there and test themselves, and it's great. What words do you want to learn? Of course, nouns, that's what we learn the most, but also make sure that you've got a range of adjectives that you can use. Not only divertido, the classic divertido, aburrido, fun, boring. Come on, make sure that you increase that vocab. Bueno, malo, we can do better than that. So, adjectives. Verbs. Of course you don't need to know all the verbs. You just need the main ones that you're going to use on a daily basis. Stay practical. Within the list of verbs, I would definitely include some regular ones. Make sure you know the rules for these ones. Some irregular ones. You don't need to know the whole irregular thing, but it's good that you are familiar with verbs like hacer, for example, in the past tense, hizo, hago in the present. Okay? Because they come up all the time. And stem changing verbs like dormir, duermo. To sleep, I sleep. The O goes into a UE, etc. So make sure that you've got some list of the type of verb. Again, it does not have to be massive. How many verbs do we realistically use on our daily basis? A lot less than you think. And in this beautiful sponge stage, as we're gonna call it, you're a sponge, you're absorbing all of that vocabulary. What is going to help you the most? Immersion. Immersion is going to be key for you, absolutely key. And also, it's going to keep the motivation going, because let's face it, learning all this vocab, all these words, can be quite daunting and quite boring at times. So, find some music that you like. Nowadays, I am really proud of being Spanish and, part of the Hispanic community because we have such great music nowadays. Going from Shakira, of course, I'm going to mention her. I'm a big fan. Bad Bunny, Sebastián Yatra, puedes salir con cualquiera, na, 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 na. Okay, so there's so many summer songs that are super catchy and that you can really get yourself involved. Not only Despacito or Macarena. We've got so many of them. So check what type of music you like and try to learn the lyrics. Spot some words. Movies. I personally love this option. Absolutely love it. Series. Come on. Netflix is making our lives so much easier. I wish I had Netflix when I was learning English as a kid. All I had was a VHS tape. Una cinta, vamos. Una cinta de estas grandes, one of these big tapes that you plugged it in and it was, hello, my name is Muzzy. It was that big green monster and it was the exact same episode every single time. That's all I had to learn English. So come on guys, now the sky's the limit. What else do we have? Books. Magazines, engaging content, things that are relatable to you, that are going to help you train your ear, especially. Train that ear to start spotting Spanish, maybe even in different accents, which is one of the most difficult things. TED Talks, they help a lot. If you look for TED Talks on YouTube that are in Spanish, they come very, very well translated. They've got the version of both in the transcription and it's very accurate. So those can help you a lot. And you can listen to them repeatedly, okay? First time, you're barely going to understand any words. The second time, you're going to realize, oh, now I can understand this word. The third time, you're anticipating that content, but that is how we're training our brain to listen to Spanish. And the same thing with the series. There's a great app. I did an advert for them not long ago called Lingo Pie. So if you want to learn with series and movies, that app is fantastic. And no, this post is not sponsored, by the way, but if any of the apps I'm mentioning here want to sponsor me, you are very welcome. Podcast. I've got my own podcast. I've got a mini podcast on an app called Jam, and I do mini bite-sized audios teaching people Spanish that you can listen to every day. But there's longer podcasts in Spanish that are going to help you a lot. You can play them in the car, you can play them in the gym, anywhere you want whilst you're cooking, but you're listening to Spanish. Again, we are training our brain. It might be passive listening at some point, but you will realize how, without even realizing it, you're catching up some words, even when you're not listening actively. Hasta aquí, up till here, the input receptive stage. Now we're going to the fun one, the productive stage. And why is it fun? Because you get to produce the language. You get to put in practice that vocab that you've been learning. You're ready for it. Ready to get out there. Maybe not ready to get out there, but ready to start producing the language. This is the output stage or the productive stage. And what skills are we going to be practicing here? Writing and speaking. Not exclusively, but we're going to be focusing on those ones. What is key at this stage? It can be really good fun, but it can also be quite frustrating when you're at that point that, oh, I understand, but I can't get my words out. I hear that phrase so much. Oh yes, I can understand Spanish. I can't quite speak it. That's because you haven't moved through this stage yet. You haven't navigated this stage. And I promise it's not as hard as it seems at the beginning. Trucos. Tricks. What are you going to do at this point? You're going to incorporate those lists of words that we've been going through in your day-to-day. That is key. In your day-to-day, in your practical, everyday language. How do you do this? Talk to yourself. Talk to your cat. Talk to your dog. Talk to whoever you want, but talk, okay? As a routine. You are brushing your teeth in the morning. You might want to say, I'm brushing my teeth. Me estoy lavando los dientes. Okay, maybe not like that, but me estoy lavando los dientes. Me estoy cepillando el pelo. Voy a ir al colegio. I'm going to school. Me voy a duchar. I'm going to have a shower. He jugado al fútbol. I have played football. Those little things, including different tenses, including maybe one new phrase every day, you can't imagine how much you can progress in a matter of weeks. It's insane. I promise. I've witnessed this. So yes, talk to yourself, incorporate those phrases. You could even say, okay, today I am going to actively notice 5 sentences, or 1 to 5. I don't know, it can be 1, it can be 5, it can be 3, whatever you decide. I am going to write down the phrase that I say. For example, where are my car keys? Imagine you say that a lot. I say that a lot. I lose them all the time. So imagine that you say that a lot. Where are my car keys? Write that phrase down. Write it on your phone. Make a note of it. When you have a minute, translate it into Spanish. ¿Dónde están las llaves? ¿Dónde están las llaves del coche? And then the following day, instead of saying where are my car keys, okay, you might want to say ¿Dónde están las llaves del coche? ¿Dónde están las llaves del coche? You're embedding that in your routine and it becomes a system. It is now part of you. It is now part of your way of communicating. Even if you only do 1 phrase per day, you are winning, I'm telling you. Because in just a few weeks or months, you are going to be covering pretty much all the vocabulary you use on a daily basis. All the vocab you need. Okay, so you've gone through that initial stage of starting to write and speak. What do you think is coming next? Next we are entering the fluent stage. Or if you wish to call it, la etapa fluento. No, we don't say fluento in Spanish. Don't say that. I use it as a joke. Don't say it, please. Don't go to anybody saying, oh, Patry really taught me I'm fluento. No, it's a joke. It's a bad joke. What do you need to do at this stage? You know a lot of vocab at this point. You can produce that vocab, but are you sure you can have a conversation with somebody? Can you have a conversation with a native speaker? How do you know that? How do you know if you can or you can't? Find a speaking partner and you're like, yeah, sure, Patry, how do I find somebody in the middle of Texas that speaks Spanish? I'm sure actually there's many people in Texas that speak Spanish, but you know what I mean. Or I don't know, in Yorkshire, if you live in the UK, there's many isolated places, but wonderful internet solves all our problems. Practice makes perfect. And yes, it is true. Encuentra a un amigo con quien practicar. And now in this case, I do need to recommend 2 apps and I do work with them, guys, and it's because they are brilliant. Rest assured, I am never going to recommend you anything that's rubbish because that will go against anything I believe. So if I recommend anything, it's because I wholeheartedly believe in them, okay? One is HelloTalk. In HelloTalk, you can find loads of speaking partners from all over the world. English and Spanish. If you're learning English, you can find them. If you're learning Spanish, you can find them. And it's great. They become your friends. It's fantastic. I really like them. And then another app or another website that I really like is LanguaTalk. Okay? LanguaTalk is ideal if you're looking for tutors. One-on-one tuition. You're getting a bit more serious with the language. You want a specialist, you want somebody that can teach you a bit more grammar, that can teach you the idioms, that can, you can have conversations with every single day that you want. That's LanguaTalk for you. So that one would really help you. And that one's especially good as well if you're preparing for an exam. Obviously, you need someone a bit more qualified for that. So that's for you, LanguaTalk. There's a link for you in the description of this video in case you want to try it out. And there's also a discount for you. That would be it, guys. That is it. as easy as that. Do I believe that somebody can learn a language, English, Spanish, whatever it is that you're learning, within a month? Yes, I believe that. You need to have quite good skills, obviously. You need to be quite language orientated. But I believe that if you put down the hours, follow this process, you could even learn it in a month. If you're a bit more realistic, I have seen students going through this, putting in the hours and becoming fluent within 3 months of doing this. But I'm not selling you a silver bullet here, okay? I'm not going to tell you, yeah, this is the magic formula, this works for everyone. No. This works for everyone that's consistent. Consistency. Ya me lo decía mi madre. My mom used to tell me, and I used to get really annoyed when she told me, but she used to go, Patricia, hay que ser constante en esta vida. You have to be consistent in life. And as annoyed as it is, she is a very, very right, guys. So consistency is key. Follow these steps, and for everything else, watch my videos. Why not? I hope this was super useful for you. And if you've got any other techniques, any other tricks, truquitos que os funcionan that work for you, leave me a comment below. I love reading your comments. Muchas gracias, chicos, y buena suerte with your language journey. Hala, me voy a cenar. I'm going to have dinner. There you go. I'm going to have dinner. Me voy a cenar. Ta-da! You're welcome.